Hi, good afternoon, everybody. It's Joe and Alex. We're hanging out together. It's comic book guys and comic books from coast to coast. We're looking at some amazing artists today. Today, we're looking at one of the all-time consummate classic illustrators, Marc Silvestri, and one of the great upstart artists that came on board, conquering Image in its early years, the always incredible Stephen Platt. How are you doing today, Alex?
I'm doing good. But before we get into that, I'd like to show the previous artist poll. We had Tim Vigil and Dave Sim, and apparently, although I didn't look at it in the last hour or so, apparently Dave Sim was the winner of the poll, which flabbergasted me completely.
Well, unfortunately, we don't have a ton of people voting. And I mean,
Well,
that kind of thing just probably goes with the inner soul of whoever's voting. Like, maybe they're a Dan Klaus, love and rockets type of person. And something like Dave Sim Service maybe speaks to them more than, the incredible graphic, quality of someone like Tim Vigil. So
well,
it's
I
totally
I think
understandable.
yeah, and I mean we can't put down anybody's preference for either artist because they're both great artists. But for me, I don't have very much Tim Vigil art, so I can understand if you haven't been exposed to one of the artists, then I can understand because Dave Sim I think was a little bit more accessible in comic shops and stuff than Tim Vigil.
Hey, what's going on, Brad Girl? It's good to see you here today. I just want to say hello. Tell you thanks for stopping by. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like honestly, it's just a preference thing. I mean, they're both great artists. They just have very
Yeah,
different kinds of stories they tell. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you know, I
definitely.
I personally prefer I'm an insanely huge Tim Vigil guy. Tim Vigil is a big part of what drew me back into drawing, when I had quit for a long time as a young man. Oh, like I want to say like his stuff probably drew me in right before the Image stuff landed, because I think Tim Vigil's
Yeah, yeah.
Faust and Grips was just a few years before the Image stuff, cracked their egg or
Yep,
whatever.
yep,
And
yep, yep, definitely.
his art was really prolific and just extremely graphic and utterly beautiful. And it falls into that classic Frank Frazetta, Bernie Wrightson thing. And I'm
Yeah,
a
yeah,
sucker for that stuff. Like I just
yeah,
am. I can't help it.
yep. That's another thing is his stuff was adult oriented. So I'm sure a lot of his fans, at the time, in the 90s or whatever, were just maybe not old enough to purchase them. Maybe the comic shops were keeping the younger folk from getting Tim Vigil.
Well, that's for sure. I mean, like, I don't think, like, say, like, Grips, like the one I showed, was quite, like,
Yeah,
I know I picked that up, off the bookshelf or whatever. And I think I bought Faust, it was two, but I was
yeah,
probably over 18. You know what I mean? I
yeah,
was probably at least 18 or 19, maybe even 20 or something like that when those books were coming out. And I
yeah,
don't think like they were behind a counter or anything. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think they were like, oh, you have to ask for this book kind of thing. Like, they were sitting out, but I think they were kind of like in a more adult section. Like, because I don't know if you know what Cherry Pop Tart is.
yeah, yeah,
You know about Cherry Pop Tart? So,
yeah,
like, I
yeah,
recall Faust sitting next to Cherry Pop Tart,
yeah, yeah,
and other things
yeah,
like that. So, it probably sat over there with, books that had more blood and guts and goriness in it
yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever. Or like, because there was all that stuff. There was like the Vampire Lestat books being, those like weird painting books.
yeah, yep,
And those had some pretty graphic stuff in them from time to time. So I know at the time, when they were having that sort of renaissance in comics back in the mid 80s, like that 86, whatever, 83.
yeah, yeah,
I just feel like, there was, the violent, the fact that these underground companies could show that level of like violence and action and that kind of stuff was probably one of the big draws to that kind of material. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
maybe sticking all those things in one area kind of maybe made them more noticeable and made them sell better because, people looking for that kind of thing, the Glenn Danzig, all his stuff was very violent and, you know what I mean? Full of
yeah,
sexuality and
yeah,
things like that,
yeah,
so there's
yeah,
always been those people, selling that brand of, entertainment through that, kind of, conducting it through the comic book,
Yeah.
art form or whatever.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Hey, Byron. Thanks for the compliment on my reviews, especially that Dale Keown one. I know that you weren't really into it, and I really wasn't that infatuated with it either. But we look at the good and then we look at the bad on these reviews.
that's funny because like I want me and you to do that book, because I'm a huge fan of Dragon Force.
Yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
love Dragon. Now, I haven't had a chance to look at that video yet. Did you do a black and white or did you do a color?
The color, I guess so. They changed from. I do have number 9, I think. So I'm wondering when they changed to color. I mean, to black and white. Do you have all of the
No, what I think
Dragon
it was
Forces?
is I think it's just the first. It's either the first issue or maybe it's the first and the second issue, maybe like
Or
are the
color?
black and white ones. And then by those early issues, like after those first early issues, they switched to the color format. I think because
Huh.
the black and white
No,
is selling so well.
no. I have number 4 and that's color, and then I have number 9 and that's black and white.
Oh, is that right? Oh, maybe
Yeah.
they reverted back to black and white or something like that. Because I believe they started in black and white, went to color, and then maybe they reverted back to
Yeah.
black and white because of the cost or
Maybe.
something.
Do you have all of the issues?
I don't have all of them, but I think I have I think I have like 1 through 7 or something like that, or you know what I mean,
Yeah.
1 through 6 or something like that.
Yeah.
I thought it was. I'm a sucker for team books. I've said that before. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I
I
loved his artwork, but I just thought the story was and his writing was too simple.
well, dude, you know what I mean? Honestly, I feel that way about most comics. Like you've commented to me before, like you like to get into the stories of things.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
very rarely read a comic book that ever like interests me in that kind of way. And most comics, like to sit in front of me, it's just white noise when you look at the story. There's just nothing there hardly. It's just a bunch of chaos going in a lot of different directions. And it's hard to craft a story that becomes meaningful to people. And it's not something everyone can do. I've never done it before. You know what I mean? Like one of my great goals is to write 3 issues that tell a really interesting story where people care about the characters and stuff like that. And,
All right, so
stakes mean something to people.
let me ask you a question. What is one comic that has really impressed you story wise and really made you think about comics as a medium for telling a
Well,
great story? What's that?
honestly, I'd say it's not something anyone's is going to be on very many people's radar. I can tell you that right now. Probably won't be on your radar, maybe even. But it was ElfQuest by Wendy and Richard Pini's ElfQuest.
Yeah, yeah.
Stunning,
I have a bunch of those. Yep. Yeah.
stunning, dude. I have every ElfQuest in the original saga from whatever it is, 1 to 22, I think it is, or something like that. And it
Yeah.
tells each one of it's like Lord of the Rings. It's like 3
Yeah.
novels. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And it's stunning and beautiful, and it's composed, and it blows my brain apart that those have not been made into giant feature films.
Well, there's a documentary on ElfQuest YouTube that's really good that documents their relationship and them printing their comics and trying really hard to get it made into either an animated movie or film or
Yeah.
whatever. And they were married, and that kind of was one of the reasons that they split up or whatever.
Oh no, I didn't even know they got divorced. Well, they're still together, I think. I mean, those people are like they're at
I
the hip now. Like at this point in
Well,
their life.
according to the documentary, they split up and then they might have got back together again. So I don't know. Maybe they got divorced and they got remarried or
I
whatever.
can't
Who
even
knows?
imagine those 2 people not being together and doing their
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah.
I imagine they're one of those couples that even when they're apart, they're still, you know what I mean, talking
Yeah,
every day
yeah,
and all that kind of stuff.
yeah.
But ElfQuest was
It's a great
stunning.
documentary.
I mean, ElfQuest was just, and her art is just, it's beyond reproach. There's nothing about ElfQuest that doesn't represent the highest level of comic book, in every asset, whether it's the story, whether it was her production, whether it was her timely nature and doing it all on her own, the incredible story they
Right.
told, the beautiful emotions the characters all have. I was so involved. I wanted to be an ElfQuest kid, like, dude,
So
like I was so into Cutter, like Cutter was just
yeah,
like, I just lived in that world when I was a kid growing up.
yeah,
And,
huh,
consequently, I had twins. And when I
yeah.
had twins, I was just like, of course I had twins. I'm Cutter.
So So, what about like Mouse?
Um,
You've read Mouse, right?
Now those are cool. Yeah, I read it once. It's not that stuff's not for me. You know what I mean? Like like a lot of that stuff falls into a category where like I feel like it's informational, but it's not entertainment. I was
Huh.
not entertained by Mouse. Mouse is not
Huh.
entertaining to me. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't want to read a story that it's just same thing. Like I don't like John Steinbeck, you know, because I don't want,
Yeah.
you know, like Grapes of Wrath is not an entertaining book to read. You know what I mean,
Yeah.
dude? It's
Yeah.
about a bunch of miserable people. I don't understand why someone writes a piece of work like that. I don't understand why Dostoevsky writes War and Peace. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
these are
Right.
big books about struggles that seem to go nowhere, where struggle just seems to be the constant theme or whatever. And the characters never really resolve anything. And there's never any like true, like motivational, like concept, you know, what's happening. It's just like a misery after misery after misery, and then the end or whatever.
Right. Right.
Entertained by stuff like that. That's
Yeah.
me.
But Byron, you really should read Mouse. I think Mouse is one of those things that every comic book fan should read, though.
There's lots
I
of
know that it's
fantastic
not
work
your
like
thing,
that.
Joe, but it's like Schindler's List. I mean, it's
Yeah,
just one
that's
of
another
those
one. See,
things
like
that
I only watched Schindler's List one time, and I would never watch it again. It's an
well, I
amazing
would never
film.
watch it again either. But
Yeah, it's a beautiful piece of work. It's not entertaining. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I'm not
well, it's
entertained by it.
gut
You know
wrenching. It's
what's that?
gut wrenching. The horror. It's gut
Yeah,
wrenching.
yeah.
It's gut wrenching, and it's poignant, and
It, it's
it's not
drama.
there. It's drama, drama.
Yeah, yeah. But see, like I get enough of that in my regular life. Now I understand some people may be attracted to that, and stories like that are important to tell. Like I say, they're informational, but they're not
Yeah.
entertaining. You know what I mean? I'm not entertained by
Well,
it, you
no,
know.
I
And
I
like,
guess we'll have to just agree to disagree because
you know, like,
I was super entertained by it. I mean,
well,
it's an
yeah, that's
entertainment.
cool.
It's an entertainment in a different way. It's not
Yeah,
like it's not like you're not into humor comics either. So I think that the things that really touch people emotionally is just not really your bag,
yeah,
which
that's
is
what I'm
cool.
saying. It's
I
not
mean,
that I'm trying to say it's not entertainment, you know, because like
right,
it's
right,
obviously Schindler's List is it's a movie, you know, that's what it
right,
is. But
right, right,
I'm not entertained by themes like
right.
that or material
Yeah,
that holds that kind of stuff. It's like I'm aware of all that stuff, you know what I mean? Like it can be good, it can be exploitive at times, like it just depends on how it's handled. You know, obviously Mouse is about his parents' story, you know what I mean? It's
right.
told through the perspective of a cartoon and a cartoonist. But, you know, like it definitely is an important piece of work. But I personally,
Yeah,
you know, don't
yeah.
relish things like that because the message is difficult. And, you know, it's like it sucks to know that things like that take place in life. You know what I mean? So I'm not entertained by that kind of level of like, you know, horror and that kind of level of human despair or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like
right, right.
that's a
But
bummer.
it's not just that one subject. It's all kinds of subjects that can touch you emotionally. Whether it's uh, I don't know, just something that can touch you emotionally. I guess just isn't your thing.
Oh yeah, I
So
know. I mean, like I get it. You know, like I said, it's just you know, it's like the scene in Schindler's List where Ray Fiennes just gets out of bed and shoots that guy or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah.
I don't like stuff like that, man. Like I don't want to
Right,
see it.
right. No, no, I understand that. But then at the end, when they show the real, I think they show the real people. No, they don't show the real people. They show them putting stones on all of the people that died on their. Yes, it is the real people.
Yeah, I
I
think
have
it
to go
is. Yeah,
watch
it's
it.
their
It's the
ancestors or
real
whatever.
people going to
Yeah,
all his graves, which is a Jewish tradition, and putting the stones on it. Is I mean, if you're watching that and you're not like bawling, then after watching that movie, I just don't. Maybe you don't
dude,
have a
I
soul,
think you
Joe.
should
Maybe
be
you don't have a
bawling.
soul.
Yeah, you should be crying during every moment of that film, dude. Like I've never seen so many people die. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
Dude, like that movie is hard to watch because it's like, I mean, someone dies every 10 seconds in that movie, it feels like, you know, like
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
weird
yeah.
to me that a Jewish man made that movie because sometimes like I trip out on how Hollywood seems to I mean, I know that they're trying to show it informationally. They're trying to say, like, oh, we have to, you know, understand that these things took place. But sometimes like in the object of showing things, they like it's almost like they're recreating and worshiping the idea, and that bothers me in some ways. Like saying
Well,
Indiana
no,
Jones
no,
3, where they're
it
doing
really
the book
shouldn't.
burning, where he meets Hitler, and they have
Yeah,
to
yeah,
reenact this huge.
it really shouldn't, because the whole movie isn't about the atrocities of the the Holocaust. It's about the heroism that Schindler has for
I
saving
know,
all of the
Alex,
Jews.
but at the
You know what
same
I'm saying?
time, they're recreating all this stuff like theatrically. You know what I mean? And there's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
weird quality to it where they're like there's I don't know, like I dislike it. Like I don't like any time they're recreating something evil or whatever. Like, what I mean? It just, there's something about it. I mean, I understand it's always going to be a part of cinema. It's always going to be part of storytelling because you
yeah,
can't have
yeah.
dramatic, stuff without all these. You can't have a good hero without a good villain. But
Exactly. That's the
but I'm
thing.
off. But it's there's a bizarreness to me that I don't understand. Like, because they are recreating these horrific moments and worshiping at the altar of it when they do that. Like, straight up, man, they are, like, and there's a weird part of me that doesn't understand. I understand why some people would, but there's a part of me that doesn't necessarily understand why someone like Steven Spielberg would delve into it so much. But in the other hand, it's kind of common sense because it's a great part of his natural history
Yeah,
of his
it's a
people.
part of his culture.
He's never experienced it, only through story, so maybe experiencing it through story is a way for him to grasp the reality of it or something.
Well, I think you have to retell things like that too, or we're gonna make the same mistakes culturally or whatever. But hey, let's
That's
get
for
into the
sure.
comic books.
No, we
Let's
both had that thought simultaneously. That's funny. We're getting into some heavy discussions here about film and about drama and
yeah.
about the nature of storytelling. But comic books is all that.
Yeah. But I have I have one thing that actually has to do with these, and has to do with the whole putting the artist together and seeing which one we like better. What do you
Real
think?
quick, Alex, real quick
Yep.
before I do that,
Yep.
I
Go
just want to
ahead. Go ahead.
respond to Byron here and just say, yeah, Graveyard of the Fireflies. Have you ever seen that, Alex? Graveyard of the
No,
Fireflies? Oh, it's a
no, I
Japanese
haven't.
anime, but it's a staggering piece of work, and it is also just like hugely dark at times and just like hard to watch, and just really covers the gore and the grime of what that time is like for a person going through those experiences or whatever. So thank you for
Yeah.
throwing that at
Yeah.
us, but I just want to give a quick chance to speak on you, and how cool it is that you're interacting with the feed right now. Okay, go ahead,
Yeah.
Alex.
Yeah. Definitely. So what do you think? I was really thinking about this when we were discussing which artist we were going to go over, and we're always talking about what they've done, what books they've done, and how many books they've done and stuff like that. And I was kind of thinking, what do you think is the measure of an artist? Do you think
Well, dude, that's a
well,
good
wait,
question.
do you think
Go ahead.
it's the best of, like, say an artist does 100 pieces, 100 comics, 100 whatever, and three of them are fantastic, or even 20 are fantastic, and then um 10 are bad, and then the rest are average. So how do you measure how great an artist is? Do you measure it by their very best works? Because I know for myself, I have maybe 15 things, that illustrations or whatever, that I think are really fantastic. And I'm pretty much, I think the same way, where I have some that I think are really awesome, and then some that I think are crap, and then some a lot of I think is average.
Well, I think that's a fair enough thing, but I think just like with anybody, whether you're a filmmaker or artist or anything, you're probably judged by your best work. I mean, no one is looking at George Lucas and going like, "Oh, THX," you know what I mean? It's like everyone looks at him and goes, "Star Wars," or you know what I
That's
mean? Like,
true. That's
you look
true.
at
That's true.
Da Vinci, and the first thing that pops into your head is the Mona Lisa. Like you think of Michelangelo, and probably the first place you go is what is that Divinity of Man or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
people
So
tend to judge
you
people by
think
their very best work.
you think that's how artists should be judged, or that's how they are judged?
Like, let me just say, okay, I'm going to say a name of an artist, and I want you to say the first thing that pops in your head, and I just want to say what
Okay.
this is real quick. Frank Miller.
Dark Knight Returns.
Okay, so you didn't say Daredevil. See, so you measured him by
I didn't
his.
say
You know what I
Daredevil.
mean? it's one of
Yeah.
those or the other for anybody. Like that's either
Yeah.
which one you say is going to be probably what you think is his better piece. You know what I mean?
Do I think Dark Knight Returns is his best work? Probably, probably.
Yeah, it
I
is. It
mean, I
definitely
I
is.
love Daredevil. I love Daredevil. I love Sin City, but I'm thinking Dark Knight Returns is his best stuff.
Yeah, because Daredevil, he had to pull off of the threads of another person's story. But with Dark Knight Returns, it's the first time when he was able to interject a complete, fully formed idea. It's not like going like,
Yeah.
oh, working on Daredevil is like making Aliens after someone already made Alien. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you can
Yeah.
come in, you can play around with the themes, but it's got to be your own thing. Now, Batman, the Dark Knight gives him a big leeway because he's proposing Batman as a older person now. It's not the
Yeah.
Batman we know. It's not the Batman we've seen for decades and decades and decades. All of a sudden, he's asking you, what would this man's life be like at 68, or 65
Right.
or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's because, and all of a sudden we're interested again, and it's that,
Yeah. Yeah.
and not everything, then the next year he comes back and does Ronin, and it's not as good, like,
I think Ronin was before it.
no, I'm pretty sure Ronin is after the Dark Knight because he does
See,
the
I
Dark
think.
Knight, and then he gets a bunch of money to do Ronin. You know what I mean? Like they just
Uh,
back a
well,
dump truck of money
I'll
at
have to
that.
look that up. I'm pretty sure that Ronin was before, but either way, I think Ronin is amazing too. Anyway, so
Oh, Byron's saying that he thinks the Elektra saga is his best work.
I think Byron, you totally could be right. I mean, I love the Daredevil stuff. I love his Daredevil stuff. Amazing, it's amazing stuff. I especially love Elektra Lives. I mean, that is just it's so hard because then you have this new Frank Miller stuff that everybody is trashing on and they think is so horrible,
Because it's
like
not very
his new
good. I mean,
covers.
not just like George Lucas. I mean, after Star Wars, even I mean, I love all six Star Wars films. They're untouchable to me. That's all there is just six of them, and that's it. Um, but he's made a lot of other movies. You know what I mean? He's come
Yeah,
back and made a
yeah.
handful of other movies. None of them are very good. Like I mean, people just, you have what you have. Not everything a person throws at the wall is going to be great just because they've done
Yeah,
something
that's
good.
true. That's true. Yeah, yeah. So you do kind of measure him. It's. I guess it's just like an athlete. You measure an athlete by their best time, not their worst time when their career is
Yeah,
all said and done.
Byron's saying that he thinks it's toe to toe with the Dark Knight, and it
It
might,
really
like you
is.
guys both say, it might and be some ways better because like it has to be threaded off of a different like a different pattern or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So there has
yeah,
to be a certain amount of credit added to the idea of being just saying like, wow, like you did so much with story that someone had already created or whatever, and you were able to make it so vibrant and so much your own thing. So there's a certain amount of like glory that should be heaped upon the shoulders just for that.
yeah, yeah. Byron, I've read most of Miller's RoboCop stuff, and I really do not like anything Miller has done with RoboCop. I don't know the deal is with him and RoboCop. If you love it, that's cool. But anything RoboCop with him is, and even that RoboCop that he did with Simonson, and Simonson's my favorite artist of all time. I didn't really like that either.
Yeah, I personally didn't like his like RoboCop movies. That's for sure, dude. Those were
Yeah, yeah,
terrible.
no, neither did I. But anyway, let's get into the comic books. Let's get into the comics. Why don't you start with Stephen Platt?
But yeah, I'm just paging through some of like Stephen Platt's real gorgeous stuff here, and anyone can look at some of this stuff and see right off the bat like what a draw file he is. Like I'm
Now,
trying to get a little bit of.
is that before Moon Knight? You think?
Oh no, he's almost done right here. This is right
Oh,
before he
that's
leaves the
later on.
industry. Yeah,
Because I
I believe this
remember
is
I got that
this.
Moon Knight cover and I just the Moon Knight book and I just sold it like last couple months ago, 3 or 4 months ago, something like that. And I knew you could tell as soon as you see that cover and because was that Moon Knight his first published work?
I believe
You
it is.
think?
Yeah, yeah, I do think
I
that
mean,
is his
you
very
could
first
tell
published
just
stuff.
by that cover that he's an amazing artist.
Oh yeah, he comes out of the gate just full force, and I mean already here, like he's over at Top Cow. He's already left
Image or
Extreme.
Marvel?
Yeah, Extreme. No,
Oh,
he's at Image
extreme.
still, but he's
Yeah,
at Top Cow with this is Marc Silvestri's studio, so he's left
yeah,
Rob Liefeld's place, and now he's working for
yeah, yeah.
Marc Silvestri.
Who's inking that?
I believe he does all of it. Yeah. He inked
He's
it,
inking
and
it.
oh no, yeah, well he inked it, and then I guess it has a handful of other inkers. Alceza, Gorder, Lamas,
Oh, so
Bat, Soud, Weems, Wolf.
there's lots of different inkers.
Yeah, yeah, they're all really good guys. I'm surprised that it doesn't have Danny Mickey, because Danny Mickey was the king of this style ever. But I guess maybe they can never get him to come over and work for Top Cow or something. I know Danny
Yeah,
Mickey
yeah.
was like
What
locked
what
down by like
what are you looking at? I didn't see the cover. What are you looking at?
this is one of his early creator, or not early, but like
Show
one
me
of
the
his
cover.
original creator pieces that he created. Like I think this is a
Oh, Soul
Stephen Platt
Saga.
creation. Yeah, Soul Saga.
Huh. Yeah.
And it's kind of a Star Wars clone, like kind
Oh,
of
it is.
I mean, soul intergalactic soldiers in a space war, kind of thing or whatever, the
Did he
story
write
once
it?
again doesn't make a lick of sense hardly at all. It's just a story
Oh,
about
yeah.
it. Like this issue is about a guy who recently lost his brother in a battle they just had, and he's coming to terms with the history of his family and the living in his brother's shadow, who's like some big hero or whatever, and it's just got this
Yeah.
complicated plot that's all over the place with a bunch
Did
of
he
characters
write
you don't
that?
know anything about. I do believe he did plot it. Um, let's see.
Yeah, that city fire. That city is amazing.
Oh, it's outrageous. The color, dude, the colors by
Color
Liquid,
adds to it.
dude, it's
Yeah.
outrageous.
Yeah.
But yeah, created by Stephen Platt and Christian Leitner. And Christian Leitner is the head colorer for Liquid.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's does insane stuff. Like, look at this one right here. Like, can we even get a look at that whole thing?
Yeah, that's
Can you
crazy.
see that? Just outrageous. You see the figure? Like, like here's the guy, what I mean?
Yeah, see, that's Moon Knight. That right there, that's what drew me to the Moon Knight.
Yeah, and then we come over here, and you see like this dude over here, and he's got like this like vampire hunter D-esque like figure in the hand or whatever,
Yeah,
and then just like, I mean, dude, this stuff is outrageous, like
yeah,
it's just
yeah,
outrageous.
yeah. See, those first few pages didn't really look like Platt stuff to me. It looked kind of like a watered down version of Platt. But that right there, his amount of detail and his hatching or whatever it is, um, is that hatching or cross hatching or
Yeah, that's
some
cross
sort
hatching.
of
Yeah, that is
yeah,
cross hatching. It is.
yeah,
But I want to say like he's probably okay. He's a good so many books into the industry now. He's done Prophet now. He's done
yeah,
Moon Knight now. You know what I mean? As well as a handful of other things. And I think what you're seeing is him trying to get like what we talked about in one of our recent shows. Like he's trying to get back to telling story and being less of a spectacle. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like I think that's probably what we're seeing, is him just like trying to get a lot of panels on the page more like a classic artist would. And when you do that, you have to sacrifice your art to a certain extent, not because not everything could be a
yeah,
panel, not everything could be an anchor page when you're really trying to tell story
yeah,
moments, which is
yeah,
something I'm
yeah,
only just discovering. But see, he's taking time to put them in there because we know that's what we love, you know what I mean? Like, and so boom, 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 he's got these beautiful,
yeah.
beautiful drawings, these gorgeous ladies, and we know something.
Yeah, yeah, you don't really think of him as a woman artist, but yeah, those are nice.
Yeah. And the story they're gonna sleep with that guy who's going through all this turmoil or whatever because he's the
Yeah,
son or the brother of this famous guy or whatever. He's gonna
yeah,
have some awesome adventures of his own. Well, he's a hero of his own too, but he's he's just going through a bunch of stuff, and he just recently saved the princess, and that's like part of the big part of this story. She's like in some sort of like intrigue event where she's hiding from all the people, and he's kind of like keeping her under tow or helping the governmental system hide her while she's traveling from one place to another, sort of low key, so that she doesn't get spotted by whatever enemy is looking to take out someone with that kind of power. You know what I mean? But it's
yeah,
it's all right stuff. It's not story wise, it doesn't really do all that much, and most of
right.
this 90 stuff really doesn't do very much for the story or whatever. But I
Yeah,
mean, the art
yeah.
is
Well, the
absolutely
image stuff.
gorgeous. Real quick before we go on to Mark, I just want to take a look at this one because this is just a gnarly book. Like, I don't know if you
Yeah.
have this or if you've seen it before, but this is just
I
like,
have some profits, but I can't find them. Yeah, see,
this is,
that is much more. Is that ink?
yeah,
That's inked by him, right? All of it.
this is, no, Marlo
Huh.
Keza again. So they're working
Huh.
together a little bit now because he's on that other book too. Yeah, because I think like it just like he probably was like doing the pencils are brutal, I bet. You know what I mean? So he probably don't have
Yeah.
time to pencil and ink, and get the book out on
Yeah.
time. He's
Yeah.
probably
But
just in a rush.
I bet those pencils are super tight. I bet everything you see inked there is penciled there.
Yeah, I know what you're saying there, Byron. Like all this stuff, it does like it almost has the texture of like stone, like his arm or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
because he's just going. I mean, those aren't realistic veins. That's just some like crazy over the top stuff there or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, but this whole fight scene was just so badass, dude. And they're just like fighting in a sewer, and they're just both. He's got pipes sticking out of him. The background is just all blood and just rain and sewage water, and they freaking impale each other on this giant pipe right here, and
Yeah.
they're they just like battle each other down the length of the pipe, and I mean it's just outrageous, just just gorgeous stuff though, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. It's really cool. It's definitely cool looking to look at.
yeah, I don't know. Oh, here it is. Here's the pipe scene right here, where he just like right here he impales him on the pipe, and it's just
Yeah.
like boom, you got this full on just like velocity moment, and then you just got him hanging there, like
Yeah.
Vlad the Impaler kind of scene. And we could already see is that there at the beginning? See, it's not
I
quite
definitely.
there yet at the beginning. See, it's like it's not quite the Goku thing yet. You know what I mean,
Yeah.
but like he's gonna get the hair to where it's almost like a Dragon Ball Z kind of Goku freaking thing. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like all those
Yeah.
spikes or whatever. And then
Yeah.
just like, yeah, this awesome shot of them fighting towards each other, on the impaled pipe. You know what I mean? Like, did you ever watch Excalibur?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Remember the Excalibur when they're both like impaled on the lance and he starts pulling himself towards them or whatever, and then he
Yeah. Yeah.
sticks him with the sword, So it's like that kind of moment or whatever. And they're just like both bleeding to death in the sewer here at the very end,
Yeah.
Super awesome. Black and white stuff next to it, and it just doesn't even stand a chance. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Is that Platt?
no, this is
No.
Supreme.
Oh, Keith Geffen.
Yeah, Keith Geffen. It's like a little teaser, I guess, of a Supreme thing they're coming out with here.
Yeah.
Good stuff, but come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Compared
Yeah.
to that,
I definitely think maybe should have a whole episode where we just talk about the panel layouts that Image uses versus the old style, or even panel orientation throughout the ages. Because you look at the panels back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, it's different than than the 70s and 80s, and then it completely changes in the 90s with the Image stuff.
I think it's just a sign of the times. It's just the way the times go. You're just kind of flowing with what people like, and you just do with what sells the most, I guess. Because you see that like throughout the years. You can see artists go from very classic styles, like say classic guys that worked on the X-Men in the early '70s or whatever, and then by the '90s they're totally tweaking their style to where it's all weird muscles and over the top aesthetics and
Yeah.
chrome on everything, and everything's got armor on it. You know what I mean? Like chains
Right, but
everywhere.
right, but telling the story like you were saying, like the amount of panels that you have on a page, and also just the way the panels are laid out with the overlapping panels and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think like it's like Jim Shooter. You know who Jim Shooter is, right?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, okay. I feel like he was like the warden of the comic book world for a long time. You had to just like put down those mid shots, keep the pages
Yeah,
to
yeah,
7 or more, panels, and tell that story. You know what I mean? But as soon as Jim Shooter got fired, the artist just rose up and took over the house like a bunch of animals. And that's what we ended up with is all those anchor pages. You know what I mean? With just their art showcasing everything.
yeah, yeah. It's like a year or so ago or something like that. There was somebody was looking for, it's like some indie publisher looking for artists and they wanted submissions and stuff. And one of their requirements were none of the characters could be breaking out of the panels.
Well,
Like you couldn't have a hand or an
sure,
arm or
sure.
something breaking out of the panel. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, that
Like that automatically made me not submit
yeah, that's
anything.
crazy because I do that all the time. I mean, I try not
Yeah,
to do
yeah.
it very much, but I do it when it's necessary. But
Right.
Byron's threw down. He goes. Do bullet shells nourish like the earth on that prophet world he's on, or whatever? You know, it's like, do bullet shells nourish the trees? It's like bullet shells, like
I love the bullet
raining
shells.
down like water from the sky. So,
Yeah,
you wanna look
it's like that Jeff Darrow, Frank Miller thing where the
yeah.
bullets are just going everywhere.
But you want to look at some Marc stuff now?
Yeah. So I'm looking at Marc Silvestri, and is Marc Silvestri your favorite artist?
Yes.
I can't. He is your very favorite artist.
Comic
So
book
out of
artists.
every
I mean,
artist in
there's
the
a lot
whole
of
world,
artists
you
I
would
love,
say.
but as far as telling the comic book story, yeah, he it's probably between him and Jim Lee, man. I mean, Jim is also just
Yeah,
fantastic for me. I love
yeah,
everything he
yeah,
does. But Marc
yeah.
takes the cake on him just a smidge, I think.
Yeah, I wish I'd had some Platt so you could be the one that's going over the Marc Silvestri stuff, because I, like anybody with an eye, can tell that Marc Silvestri is an awesome artist. But I think I have that. He took over X-Men right after John Romita Jr. And I think with so many artists, you kind of glob onto your favorite one, and then if it changes, then you're like, they have to win me over, they have to woo me. And he just really wooed me the way that John Romita Jr. did.
That's wild to me, dude, because this art is,
Yeah,
it's
obviously good.
You always hear the Image guys talk about how they all thought he was the best one.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think Cyberforce is his biggest thing?
I think it's his best work myself, personally. Like, I loved Cyberforce when it came out, man. I was just, that first story you're looking at in your hands right now. I mean,
Yeah.
I loved it,
This
dude.
Cyberforce
Absolutely loved
number
it.
one.
That would make such a great movie, like, that would make such a great movie. Someone would do a Cyberforce, right? And then you could see, like, I loved hella stuff in there. Like, in Six Lords of Sound, I have a character that has 3 arms on one side of his body. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like Stryker, because, like, I was I love that character or whatever. It's like, you know what I mean? He's like totally unique. No one else has that. Like, the 3 arms on one side. It totally, like, it's super hard to draw too. I'll tell you that right now. Like, the whole aesthetic, keeping that realistic looking, and putting all those 3 arms on one, because you got to sort of hide the other where the shoulders join, the rib cage or whatever, as the arms go down. But I absolutely love Cyberforce, man. Like,
yeah. I mean, you can tell that he's awesome, but I think his biggest strength is that his art is super flowing. Like everything, there's movement everywhere. Even when something is like this face here, this face of what's Ripclaw, right? It's moving. His hair is just like, you can imagine it moving, and it's astounding how he does that. Even static picture, static illustration.
I know, dude. Like that, and that one right there is just like, oh my god, it's so insanely good.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to read here.
What's up, Daniel?
Oh, hey, Dan, what's going on, bro? No, Byron wrote some big thing here. It's a Robert Norton. Can you read that? My phone's kind of blocking it a little bit.
Yeah, he's a YouTube reviewer that has an amateur comic creator who has produced a He-Man fan fiction series, and Marc Silvestri is his favorite artist too.
I see. Okay. Yeah, I mean, he's just, I don't know, man. There's something about Marc. It's just he's like, he draws like, I mean, can you imagine what this mirror must have looked like as a pencil? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He just has this way. His stuff is like almost like Franklin Booth. You know what I mean? Like if Franklin Booth was going to draw comics, you know what I mean? It would have probably looked a lot like Marc Silvestri does.
Yeah.
All right. Marc had the time, he could probably do Franklin Booth level art. All
right. So I'm doing a preemptive. Who you like better? Who do you like better, Silvestri or Jim Lee? Gotta choose. Gotta choose.
Are you asking me or some one of these
I'm
guys?
asking you. I'm asking you.
Oh, I like Mark better than Jim Lee, but it's
See,
incomprehensibly small. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. See,
it's not,
for me, Jim Lee is a little bit tighter. Like I love the flowingness of Silvestri, but I also like I feel like Jim Lee adds a little bit more detail.
I think like what it is like for me personally is like Jim Lee just has a slightly more like fluidity to his look. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? His characters just has a bit more of like a fluid feel, and Mark's
yeah,
stuff is just a little bit more jagged. You know what I mean? The
yeah,
characters have just the slight quality of goodness to it. You know, the
yeah.
sort of like
One of
squareness to the structure. You know what I mean? Where more Jim feels more rounded off.
Right, right. One of the things I don't love about, and maybe this is why I didn't love him as an X-Men artist, I don't love his women or his poses, his women's poses.
Oh,
Um,
that's crazy. I always thought his women were insanely
See,
good.
I don't like this pose here. The button boobs. I've obviously probably use it because it shows the female form and all that
It's
stuff.
pretty
And
exaggerated. I mean, it really is over
it's
the top.
exaggerated, but I feel like it's not only is it not realistic, but I feel like it's not. I don't know how I can put it into the terms. I just feel like the realism loses me there.
Yeah, well, he's knocking this stuff out pretty fast there too. That's for sure. And I
Well, the
want to say
problem
it
is
that
all of his women, the boobs and butt, the poses are all the same.
yeah, his
You know?
X-Men stuff suffers from that too, or whatever. Hey,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah.
Byron, real quick, when you say Frank Miller's your favorite, which Frank Miller is it? Is it like early Frank Miller? Is it Frank Miller from Dark Knight Returns or whatever that was, that sequel to the Dark Knight Returns that everybody
Yeah, oh,
hates?
yeah, yeah. That's that.
Is it
Yeah, I don't
is
love
it
that.
Sin City stuff? Where it's all anti-negative and reversed. Bounce in, man, and
Yeah.
tell us what your actual Frank Miller stuff that you love the most is.
Well, he said he loved Electra Saga most, and
That
that's
stuff, yeah, yeah. Didn't or no? I'm thinking of Bill Sienkiewicz. That's what I'm thinking of when I think of Electra or whatever. That's the one I was like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
didn't that look real impressionistic? But I'm thinking of the Bill Sienkiewicz stuff.
Are you a Sienkiewicz fan?
Oh yeah, man, come on, he's
Yeah, yeah.
amazing.
How can you not be? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's
this
like
is really fantastic stuff.
yeah, everything Mark touches is pretty golden, and I think I think you don't you really like Garth Ennis? Are you the guy that said you like Garth Ennis so much?
Oh yeah, yeah. I love Garth
He's
Ennis.
got that real dark humor thing. He always does. The
Yeah,
shot of like the this mob boss is sitting on the can here, and the darkness comes out of the toilet, and then grabs him, and he's like,
yeah.
and his boys are coming
Dark.
in to see what's going in, and the darkness pulls him down the toilet, and they come in as just his legs sticking out of the can there.
Yeah, Darkness is probably my least favorite Garth Ennis, though. It's very like I can't even remember the storyline, and I remember all of Garth Ennis's storyline because he does crazy stuff, like you said.
I'll tell you what it was, man. These guys were watching The Sopranos, and they were like, "What if The Sopranos? One of these guys was a superhero?" You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's basically just like The Sopranos with like one of Jackie's nephews having the darkness. You know what I mean, dude?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
or whatever that guy's name was. I'm getting the names wrong, but
yeah,
you know
yeah,
what I mean? It's essentially The Sopranos with one of the hitmen having this like magical curse. You know what the darkness
yeah,
is, right? It's like some sort of
yeah,
like demon door or whatever that opens up around you, and like I guess you inherit it when you come of age and you turn 21, and
right.
then I guess when you have a child and pass it on, you no longer have it or something like that.
This is a classic Silvestri that I really like. I like this hand. One of the things that we don't really go over when we're comparing artists is their narrative art.
I think I mean like I think everything Mark does is pretty amazing, and he tells pretty tight stories, along with making pretty beautiful pictures. You know what I mean? Like, in my personal opinion.
Right, right.
I mean, like his story, he's pretty good at putting those like drawings, in the freaking size of a thumbnail kind of thing or whatever. You know what I mean? Like There's
Yeah.
not too many guys that can do these little tiny, postage stamp size drawings and like, I mean, like this stuff, man. These are small, and he knocks these things out fast. But you know what, dude? Like I'm starting my brain at this, like, and this and this. They're small panels, and he's decorating this big panel with these tiny little panels that look gorgeous,
Yeah.
But I'm starting to realize, like with my own work, and this is kind of like slightly revelatory,
Yeah.
is that when you do these small panels, you can knock them out fast.
Yeah.
You know what I
Oh, yeah.
mean?
Because you don't need the background. You don't have the backgrounds. And for me, a panel takes the longest when I have the most backgrounds.
Yeah, dude,
I
I
don't know
just
if
drew
that's
that
for
super
you.
collider. Are you kidding me, man? That super collider background was brutal. It was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it was brutal to draw.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
yeah,
the
dude, like,
figures are go a little bit faster.
because I'm like I'm
Figures,
getting like
figures and
into the
faces.
more like in the stuff I'm working on right now. Like I'm getting like into some like the story stuff or whatever. And
Yeah.
like when you do these little panels like this, the art can like fly by pretty fast. But I was really into this like little DeLuca where it's like Superion is like in the gravity well, but he's stopping the freaking particles from colliding, And then
Right.
it's like the whole building is coming down, and Dr. Entropy, she's like screaming like no, and Dr. Entropy runs up and is like, I've got you, and then like blocks the blow from her, and they just disappear. And then the whole building comes down, and then the red Genesis guy comes flying out, and Superion is like lifting the boulder up after the whole building collapses, But it's like when you're doing these little panels like that, it goes by pretty fast. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I love how you put X's in the black places, but you also colored in with the lead.
yeah, I have to do both, because like I'll
Yeah.
lose it sometimes, like between the stage of drawing it and when I dark it in, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I got to put the X's there just for me because like sometimes I'll get lost in my own lines and have to look at it for a minute before I, remember exactly what I was thinking when I put it there,
Yeah. So really, the narrative art for the artist isn't a big deal for you.
I mean, it just depends. Like, because sometimes I'll buy something to read it, you know what I mean? And I'm really into, but usually I'll collect the whole thing. I'll just go and get it as a graphic novel collection, like your Born Again that you have or whatever, And if I get something like that, I definitely always sit down and read the whole thing, I
Yeah.
always will. But if I pick up an issue here or there, I might not even read it, because it's like the stories are chaos unless you're right there at the very beginning. And even if you're at the beginning, they can still be chaos.
Yeah. Yeah. In my reviews, I often complain about artists or comic books that don't have some sort of synopsis of the previous issue in the beginning.
Byron says, well, first of all, he's just commenting on how amazing the Mother May I drawing in there was. Mother May I is the all blue woman that has like the Egyptian cowl on or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But then he also was scolding me and he was saying that he needs to let me know that I should only be plugging my comic at the beginning and at the end of the show.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's the thing. A lot of people don't watch the videos to the very end, so that's why I plug my comics in my reviews at the beginning.
Trying to get it in there, buddies.
Which is, I mean, I've watched videos of how to YouTube and stuff.
I have that
Yeah,
issue.
it is.
That issue you're looking at right now is like
number 4.
One of the ones, like open that up to the first page right there.
Yeah.
And look at those little panels, dude. You know what I mean? At the bottom and stuff, like that's what I'm talking about. And the next page in too, dude. Like go to the very next page.
Yeah.
Oh, that is the next one. Okay. And say, yeah, man, you're just phenomenal work. Because I remember, like, yeah, he was just knocking out storytelling in those things. Like those are gorgeous storytelling pages. You know what I mean? Where he's really showing it all. And it's got like, it feels like a big budget movie, to me, like when I see stuff like that,
Yeah. And I was going to say he does close-ups too. So many artists don't do enough close-ups.
He's really fantastic at moving the camera around.
Yeah. You got to move the camera around. You have to have like establishing shots. You have to have close-ups. If you don't, it just becomes boring. And
you have to have expression on the characters' faces. You know what I mean? And Marc is. I mean, you look here, you see like these great cartoonings, on these faces he's doing. You know what I mean? Like, he's not just. I mean, I struggle with that kind of stuff. A lot of my characters have mannequin face a lot of the time. And,
right? Yeah.
I'm always impressed with guys that can always like really get the emotional content through in the expression of their characters. You know, we all struggle with that kind of stuff.
Everybody struggles with something. If it's not, I was thinking because I've been drawing a baby recently, and I think for me that's the hardest thing to draw is children, either
Children are
babies,
hard. A baby's got to be
or
very
little
hard. I mean, I don't
kids.
think I've drawn a baby in a comic book yet. You know, I don't think
Yeah,
I've done that. You know, but
yeah,
yeah, man, kids are hard. I've got it dialed down to a certain extent, like to where I just have this version of a child where I just have this. You know, I'm just ripping off like again, like what Mark did in Cyberforce, like for Timmy or whatever. You know, it's funny
yeah,
because like Cyberforce has a Timmy and Pitt have a Timmy. They have a Timmy off at some point. You know, what I mean, so which one has the cooler Timmy?
yeah,
uh, you know, like same thing with Del Keown's Timmy. You know, exactly like that same thing where you just really shrink the body down and you bring up the
yeah.
hands and the feet and the head. You know,
Make the
to
head
just a
bigger. Yeah,
slightly absurd proportion. You know, and that's a
yeah,
child essentially. You know?
yeah. But then if you have too much of a formulation doing it, then it loses some of the life in it.
Yeah, it's just like art, man. You know, you're always going to be struggling to get it right. You know what I mean, and
Yeah,
figure it out. And kids have always been, one of the things that artists have always struggled with. I feel like, you know what I mean? Like, like John Byrne, you sometimes will draw these kids that look monstrous, dude. You know what I mean? Like little kids will pop up in the X-Men and they look scary, dude. They look like they
right.
should have beards and like, it'll be like a baby that looks like it has a full set of teeth or something. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah. Byron wants to read his movie script to us sometime.
are you? Yeah, or send us just like a chapter or something in the, out on Instagram or something like that. I'm definitely down, dude,
Yeah,
because I'm a
yeah,
novelist too. Like, I write stuff, and it's always cool to check out other people's writing style. You know, and we're always down with the people who are hanging out with us. And yeah, absolutely.
yeah, yeah. So I think we're winding down, looking at Silvestri, and so these are the two artists, Stephen Platt and Marc Silvestri.
Yeah, two great guys. Once again, there's no bad choice. You guys
Yep,
just
no
let us
bad
know
choice.
what you think and what you love, and we'll just move forward. And you can kind of tell sometimes the passion of the feed, whether they are like a Love and Rockets, group, or whether they're a, Faust and Spawn kids, or you know what I mean, like and
Right.
that
Yeah.
stuff will ring through with the votes, you know what I mean, and we get to know the hearts and minds and souls of the people we hang out with, and that's super cool.
Yep, yep, definitely. I don't have any Stephen Platt, so I'm gonna have to do some cutting and pasting and photoshopping of
Yeah, and then you find
the
something online
thumbnail.
or something, get a screenshot or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah. That's what
But
I
we'd like
tried
to
to do
thank,
that.
Byron and the creator of the Adventures of Brat Girl, and we'd like to thank Dan Goodwin, the creator of Sundays in Space, for coming and hanging out with us today, and anybody else that came and checked us out today. Just want to say thank you for you guys for stopping by, and we appreciate you out.
Yeah, definitely. Do you want to promote your comic book, like he said?
Oh, sure. I'll just take a moment to say I'm Joe Leonardo, and I'm the creator of Six Lords of Sound, heavy metal superheroes in space, rock and roll, and all that cool stuff. And you get yourself a copy of Six Lords of Sound, and you put on the soundtrack to the original 1980 film Heavy Metal, and listen to that thing while you're reading this book. And you're going to have an awesome existential experience that's going to make you feel like you're in the middle of an incredible freaking rock opera, like some kind of old school thing from back in the day, mixed with a fantastic, huge, big budget film. Heavy metal superheroes in space, you can't go wrong. Six Lords of Sound. And if you're interested in getting your hands on one of these guys, let me know by direct messaging me on Instagram. My Instagram, Awfully World, spelled all one word, AWFULLYWORLD on Instagram. Go
And
ahead, Al.
I'm Alex. All set. I'm Alexander Turbot. And hey, Byron, that little intro of your screenplay sounds really cool. The Mars. It sounds a little bit Isaac Asimov-ish, which I love Isaac Asimov. But I'm Alexander Turbin, and this is Random Access, and this is 28, and 29 will be coming out this month. And you can get this at patreon.com/Alexander Turbin, or you can go to my website, alexanderturbin.com, or you can message me at alexturbin0441@yahoo.com, which is my email, or alexturbin0441 at Instagram. And this newest one, or last month's, is the Adventures of Robert E. Howard and H.P. Lovecraft teaming up to fight the evil doers, and to try to revive or resurrect their favorite writer, Edgar Allan Poe, which is a little comic that I've got coming out shortly.
How long are we gonna have to wait for the second half of that?
Probably forever.
No, dude, you better be doing those pages right now.
I'm just, it's all the pages are done. I just need to color them.
Throw a couple on me, man. I'll color a couple pages for you.
You want to color them?
I'll color. Well, I can't color all of them, but I'll color a few of them.
You can color all of them.
10?
No, I have the whole thing. I need 24 pages colored.
Oh, I can't do 24 pages.
That throws some cold water on you.
I could do 5.
Yeah. No. I got to figure out what to do with them, I guess. I don't know.
Well, you need
okay.
A few of them done. Throw them my way.
Yeah.
I could do 4 or 5. I hate coloring, but you know.
Yeah, me too.
I'll do it for
too.
I'll put my back into it. Well, once again, thank you guys for visiting with us. You guys are the best. We really appreciate your time. We love hanging out. We love talking comics with you guys. It's really the best. And we always look forward to the show every week. And once again, this is Comic Books from Coast to Coast with Joe Leonardo and
Alex Turbin.
You guys have a really great day. Go ahead and tell them what we always say at the end of our show, Alex.
Hey, you got to keep on creating.